This is going to be like a very informal and casual conversation between Erik and myself. And you're all encouraged throughout to unmute, ask questions, put questions in the chat. So let's just all pretend like we're sitting around a dinner table together, like just it's like a dimly lit room, and we're all just hanging out, and we're all really good friends with one another. So um, thank you all for joining. Thank you so much, Erik, for taking the time out of your what seems to be like really busy life. I've been looking at all of the stuff that you've been up to lately on Instagram, and it seems like you're just all over the place. So I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, of course. It's not that busy, but yeah.
Okay. It's the
Instagram's not real life.
it's the illusion of busyness. So for everyone that is here, I'm sure a lot of you probably looked up who Erik is, but I'm gonna briefly read a little bio that I put together from the internet. So Erik is a graphic designer, illustrator, and writer. He's done work for Google, MTV, and the New York Times. And I always feel so weird like mentioning those like like dropping the logos or like mentioning the names like in a bio, but you have the names, you got Google in your bio, so and MTV and the New York Times, so really cool. Today you run an independent practice. You are a graduate of Parsons School of Design, and your latest book, Design Harder, which I'm still waiting for my copy, but I was able to flip through a digital copy. It's a great book, and I just love that you put so much work into challenging and questioning our profession of graphic design, because often I think what happens with design is that we think it's like this utopia where all we do is make beautiful things all day, and that is not always the case. So I'm really glad that you were able to confront graphic design in the way that you did. Um,
Thanks.
so with that said, I want to start this conversation with you and I by having you explain to us why the name Design Harder.
Yeah, so I mentioned this in the book, but my good friend Mike Devine came up with that. And yeah, I mean, it's somewhat of an ironic title, I guess. I mean, I think it's hard to explain in like I think the whole book is like teaching you how to design harder, but that does not necessarily mean, you know, hustle culture, working too hard, being competitive. It's more about like designing with care and consciousness and solidarity. Uh, yeah, it's kind of complicated, but it was originally a joke um, that my friend Mike was. I was like working hard, and he was told me to design harder, and we thought it was funny, so
Yeah.
I said it a bunch. But yeah,
I feel like it sounds like to me I interpret it as you're kind of poking fun at this like hustle culture that I feel like we all hear about all the time, and that in some instances it's kind of romanticized, like this idea that you need to like hustle and grind and all of those like buzzwords.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think it's important to work hard, and I
mhm,
think like I definitely worked very hard in my 20s,
yeah,
but it's not everything.
yeah. So at what point did you choose to start writing this book? I'm curious. Like what was like with that spark that, because writing is it's not a easy easy thing to do, at least speaking for myself, but for you, what was that experience like of committing to writing a book?
Yeah, I mean, it started when I mean, I always wanted to write about my practice and the practice at large. And it started with this essay. That's the first essay in the book. Uh, a version of it was published in 2019. it's called Do You Want Typography or Do You Want the Truth? And it was
Mhm.
published in 2019 on the Walker Art Center blog, The Gradient, which doesn't exist anymore. And yeah, I think the feedback I got from that essay was really rewarding. Like that's kind of like one of the spicier essays, and I just expected people to get mad at me.
Mhm.
But and some people did, but for the most part, it like ended up in people's syllabi, excuse me, and it spoke to students, which is kind of one of the main audiences that it was for. So yeah, that felt like a really fulfilling thing, you know, completely aside from how well it did or whatever. So I kind of kept doing it after that. And so I kept writing essays. I wrote stuff like whenever anybody asked me to write something, I'll write something for them. I did a newsletter. And then yeah, I think the intention with the newsletter especially was like I want to turn these into a book. And my friends started a publishing company and I was just talking to them about that and they said, "We'll put your book out." And that's how it happened.
Yeah. And you start the book by making the mentioning that this book wouldn't be, or actually let me pull it up here really quick because I love that you acknowledge that um let me pull it up here. Well, it's in the introduction, which you did not write the introduction, but the introduction reads, we're writing from inside the same system. This book critiques burnout, performance, and spectacle. Design today is a collision of careerism and content. We scroll through artificial slop. We prompt and optimize our way out of a crisis. We dream of curated creative retreats to escape it all, but we stay tethered to platforms that alienate and flatten, looping back into the churn, struggling to hear ourselves think. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because when I read that, it really spoke to me, and it kind of reminds me of when I see people complain about social media on social media. Like in
Yeah.
this case, like you're bringing the awareness that like this book is like the introduction reads, there's no such thing as an ethical book forward under capitalism.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so that was written by Christina Janis and Desmond Wong, their studio is called Authentic.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's no ethical book forward under capitalism is sort of a reference. I mean, it's good as is, but there's a meme that Desmond made that's also in the book. He didn't do the original meme, but there's no ethical graphic design under capitalism. Uh, but just basically, I think what that statement is saying is kind of what I try to do, which is, yeah, like I think I accept that I'm a part of the system. I accept that I can only do so much as an individual. I am on Instagram, even though I hate Instagram, but I need it to promote my work.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so I think it's not necessarily like the book isn't necessarily like a change from within kind of book, but I do accept that I'm all the bad parts of graphic design as well as the good parts as well.
Yeah, and I think it seems like it's such a difficult truth for us to accept sometimes. Like I think like as designers, sometimes we imagine that um, we're like operating outside of that system, but like the moment that you even like purchase a design book or you just like log onto your social media, like you're automatically a part of or you're complicit of something. So so I would love to know about your like a question that I often ask a lot of designers when I speak with them is about their how their relationship to graphic design has changed throughout the years. And I would love to hear about what that relationship is like for you. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of weird because I like kind of always wanted to be a graphic designer. Like ever since I was in like middle school, high school, I loved graphic design, which is weird, especially from the eight when I grew up. Like it was less of a like I think design has a lot more. people are a lot more design literate at a younger age, especially I see that a lot with students. And yeah, I mean, I think like anything, you fall in love with something authentically, where it's like, album covers, video game art, whatever, and then you monetize it. You go to school for it, you become professional, and then you start to lose that spark, right? You start to become jaded. And I think, I mean, now I think I'm much less jaded and negative about the whole thing. I mean, I think anyone who reads this book hopefully comes away from thinking graphic design in a positive way and feeling, this is going to sound corny, but like proud to be a graphic designer. Whereas I think the temperature now, I mean, it's sort of fading away, but it's like people like there's like a book about like hating design that's kind of popular. There's like people like any sort of 20 something graphic designer who's like worked one corporate job is like, I hate everything.
Yeah.
And I've been there before, but I think, yeah, ultimately I love it. I've been doing it my whole life, and it's very complicated and very in flux.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So how do you find like hope or like that optimism within to overcome like the feelings of angst that come with being a designer and having to, because I've seen, I was watching one of a talk that you did, and you were talking about how you were talking about client feedback and how often like you'll get like this long email where it's like,
Oh
we
yeah.
we want you to like make, it's a long elaborate email, and your response was like all of these things could have been said in like, two sentences. Like if you want it to be blue and move it up a little bit, like just say it. Don't sugarcoat it or fluff it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm so used to that kind of shit at this point that I don't I don't let that stuff get to me anymore.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as like I used to take it very seriously,
Hmm.
and I still take it seriously and I still work hard, but I think that not, kind of having some healthy distance and accepting that it's a job. And if you're going to get dumb feedback, you're going to work with dumb people. You're going to be dumb. You're going to do bad work. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of inevitable. So I think, yeah, I mean, I've done years of therapy as well. I'm on anxiety medication, like, stuff like that helps. Fixing your life helps. But yeah, I mean, I think it felt so important to me when I was 22,
Hmm.
right? Like it's like, oh, I'm working with, one of the first clients ever, and the project goes horribly. They're not paying me anything, and it feels like the end of the world. But now it's like, I mean, I still get upset, but I can still get upset. But I think, yeah, and the amount of work I do as well, like I do a lot of work, a lot of smaller jobs, especially.
Hmm.
So, well, I'm gonna get mad about a $500 illustration. That's like, who cares?
Yeah, yeah. And as you were writing this book, did you feel any sort of um because the book in certain aspects, like it's very critical of our industry, and did it ever cross your mind that like a potential client might run across it and kind of paint you as like a troublemaker that, is going to be difficult to work with?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think especially like when I first started publishing these essays, like I had that fear, but
Hmm.
like now it's like I don't care because I think a couple things. Like one, I think like if you're already reading this book, like if you bought it or you're reading something online, you're already like bought in on some
Yeah.
level. And I think, and the critiques I try to give are, I mean, I think like the first version of that first essay was like very bitter and mean, like the one that's that was never published. But I think my critiques, I try to be valid and I try to back them up with data or sources, and I always try to punch up. Like I'm
Hmm.
hopefully don't punch down at all in this book.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think I'm not so worried about it at this point. And I mean, I think only positive things have come from me doing this kind of stuff. Um, not, I mean, also, I guess one thing I want to mention is that just as a funny anecdote, there's a whole essay about Adobe in this book,
Yeah.
and it is it is very negative at points about Adobe, but it's also very positive, I think. Like I think I talk about the history, which and really interesting, and like I wouldn't be doing graphic design if I didn't have Photoshop on my computer, things like that. And the Adobe sponsored the talk I gave last week, so they had to like sit through me explaining that lecture. But they were like, "We that was great, we love it." Like
Yeah,
I don't want to say what the employees of Adobe said, but they were like, "That was great.
yeah,
We don't care." So I think like if Adobe can handle it, anyone can handle it. I mean, I think people. It's funny when people get mad. It hasn't happened in a long time. I mean, it does happen from time to time, but it's like they don't. They're either coming at it from like a very personal, some sort of personal thing, or they just didn't read it. Uh, what I wrote.
mm,
But I'm happy to talk to anyone if they're upset.
yeah. And,
Send me
and
an email.
yeah. And speaking of Adobe, like one of the things that you write in the book is you write designers should avoid relying solely on industry standard tools like Adobe or Figma, which promote visual conformity, and rather they should explore open source software and analog solutions. So specifically um, for like students or like younger people that are just trying to wrap their mind around like all of these tools and all of these things that they have to learn, like what would be your like just I'm curious about your thoughts on technology and what would be your like advice or your words of encouragement for like designer like young designers that are like just looking to like learn the technological basics of like, you know, software.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a few things with that. The full, I mean, you pulled the like bold
Yeah.
part of it, but like the full part, I also say like everyone has their own situation. If you're working in a company that uses Photoshop, like use
Yeah.
Photoshop. But yeah, and I do think it is good for students to. I should probably add this to the book for the next edition. Like it's good for students. Like students should learn industry standard software.
Mm.
But I mean, I teach industry standard software, but I do tell my students that these are. I'm teaching them how to learn the tools because the tools are going to change. Like I was taught Flash. I was almost taught Flash. I was 1 year removed from being taught Flash, which Flash does not exist anymore
Mm.
for a number of reasons. And so I always tell my students to like, yeah, learn Figma because Figma's great,
Yeah.
but also I think do what you want. Like do the like if you want to do hand drawn typography, do hand drawn typography. Don't feel like you need to learn UX design to get a job.
Mm.
And because if you do something and you care about it, people are probably going to respond to it more than you're doing something that you don't care about. And that logic, I think, especially applies to tools. And I think also, yeah, like the technology kind of can dictate trends oftentimes. Like a lot of the visual trends in graphic design have come from whatever technology is. So that's kind of part of that uh, point I made in that one end section was to like, in order to push back against that, like, do I do what you want?
Yeah, yeah.
But also, if you want to be a Figma person, like, be a Figma person. I don't care. I'm a Figma person. I like Figma.
Yeah, Figma's great. I've like I yeah, I'm like I always talk about it. So what I want to understand, so like the book itself, like one of the first things that really drew me about like the book itself was like both the title and also the like just the book cover. Like, and for everyone that's on this call, like you've probably all seen the cover design and just like overall like the layout, in my opinion, is like pretty beautiful. So can you talk to us a little bit about like your involvement with the design of the book itself? Because it definitely, to me, it pairs nicely with like the subject matter and even the chapters as they progress throughout the book. Like the type gets stronger. Like, it literally gets
Oh,
harder.
nice. You caught
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think so. The design was done by No Ideas, who published the book under the name Book Ideas. and the typeface is custom typeface by Wei Huang, who I'm good friends with as well. And yeah, my it's funny because it was great working. I mean, they're my friends, but it was great working with them because we kind of would come up with the same ideas separately. Like we really like I wanted it to look like I wanted to be like a super simple design hardcover. I actually didn't really care if it was hardcover or softcover, but I kind of wanted this to look like the Bible, not like literally, but like blank cover, like just says design harder, maybe my name.
Hmm.
So that was like that was my that's what I brought to the table was just saying that.
Yeah.
And but they were like had a really similar idea before I even said that, like doing something like Times New Roman, like we wanted to do a really basic font, which I think it actually like that it both feels like kind of basic and classic timeless while also feeling very contemporary with like the bolding, like how bold it is. And yeah, it's funny because like when they showed me the cover I was like, huh, oh, like it was weird because I was like, I haven't seen that before, even though just the way the type is like bolded but still like drawn nicely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took me like a few seconds, but I was like, oh, this is cool. And yeah, the type gets harder throughout the book. And yeah, the design's like super pared down, kind of classic looking. Well,
Yeah.
it's a nice juxtaposition of like classic looking, but like kind of weird and aggressive, which
Yeah.
is kind of what I try to do with my work.
Can I share my screen and like just like
Yeah.
scroll
Yeah, you
through
can flip through the book too. Yeah.
it? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen just so that everyone can see it. Because I do often find myself like really intrigued by book design, but so here, can everyone see? Okay. Yeah, so here's the book itself, and this is a cover that we were just talking about. And I love the very tight letter spacing. Really awesome. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
no, now you can see it.
Yeah, I couldn't see it before, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So here's the book cover, and what I was referring to like earlier was like I love the typographic choices like for the table of contents and how like as the chapters continue, like the type gets stronger. And I'd love to know if that's actually like a true bold or if that's just pumping up like the stroke.
It's a variable font.
Okay.
So yes and no. So
Okay.
it's like it's a conscious pumping up the bold.
Yeah.
Like because like originally like the cover, if you go back to the cover, I was like, I never say this. An earlier version of this, I was like, I never say this, but can you make it like a little more legible? Because it was like it was a little too like you couldn't read it. Um, so yeah, even though it is like kind of mushy, it is there's intention there.
Yeah. So you kind of told him to make it a little softer.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I never say this, but like it's so too hard to read.
And then can you talk to us about like some of the illustrations throughout?
Yeah, yeah. So I did all the
Hmm.
illustrations that you see at the beginning. Some of them are like referential, like this is from Schoolhouse Rock, the bill.
Yep.
Um, because I think it was originally called like the preamble, or like that's the subtitle.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I was just like trying to think of like and I don't know if you're talking about the concept of the specific one, but like a preamble, and I just thought of that.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like a piece of paper on top of other stacks of paper. But overall, the because the text, like for the most part, is somewhat serious,
Hmm.
and I think by including these kind of cartoony, clip arty illustrations, which I kind of do a lot of anyways, it
Hmm.
sort of brings some brevity to the kind of goofy, brings some goofiness to the writing where it's like kind of serious.
Yeah. I love that it, like the book itself, the book design itself has like this there's like a sense of authority like with a spread like this where you just got like this very traditional serif, but then you have like these playful illustrations followed by like these like zine-like moments, these like interstitials throughout. Um,
Yeah,
yep. And then
yeah.
just
The quotes are like these are all quotes from pop culture for the most part,
Hmm.
where there's like characters who are graphic designers.
Yeah.
It's kind of they all relate to the essay that follows the quote
Hmm.
somewhat like loosely.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of funny because like every graphic designer in a movie is like they're always like the a minor character,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they they're always like miserable or something. Like Pam from The Office like dropped out of Pratt to go back to Pennsylvania and be with Jim. So there's it's just
Yeah.
funny stuff like that.
Um, so I would love to talk about so like towards the end of the book, you talk about let me go to the bottom, like the 10-point program to design harder. And we
Hmm.
don't need to go through like every one of these points, but I wonder if out of all of these points, if there's one that you feel like you'd love your readers to like walk away with. What's your objective with this book? Is like what do you want people to leave with? Like what would be like the most pressing call to action, would you say?
I mean, I don't know if this is the most pressing call to action, but I think especially the first one, which I kind of stole from Bob Gill, his book, Forget All the Rules About Graphic Design, including the ones in this book.
Hmm.
Basically, yeah, graphic design is almost like a profession without rules. Like, obviously, there's, like you will like learn rules in school, right? Where you're like, don't put so many words on a line, it's not readable, like letting orphans, things of that nature. But it's super based on context, right? Like a lot of those rules don't apply to other languages and things like that. So I think like always questioning, like learning the rules, but also like questioning them and pushing them, I think
Hmm.
is important. And I think also that includes this book. Like I think, these 10 points are the rest of the book. Like you're not going to agree with everything. I think you're going to take from it what you want and push back on other stuff, and that's somewhat the point. Like
Yeah,
you're not it's not supposed to like I'm not trying to create a million mini me's or whatever. It's
yeah,
just something for you to help and help inspire you. Maybe learn something too.
yeah. And what's your like recipe, or what are some tactics that you found that help you communicate this sense of being inquisitive with clients? Because I feel like in principle, like as like within, this call that we're on, like we can all agree on for the most part that, all of this stuff is fine and true, but then trying to get buy-in from clients, I feel like that's kind of where that wall comes up and we kind of don't know what to do. So from your experience, like what have you found to be useful when communicating some of these things with non-designers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot harder to do with clients,
Hmm.
and I think right, it's like a lot easier to do now, where I'm a designer talking to a room full of designers,
Yeah.
and we all probably have somewhat similar experiences. But I think, and I do sort of talk about this a bit in the book. I think it's almost like a self-respect thing where it's like you have to think that you're important, and you have to get convinced clients that graphic design is important because it is important. And I don't think clients always think that.
Hmm.
But I mean, also like I'm super privileged to be in a place where I, and this was very intentional, but like I'm at a point in my career where I mean, I've always, for most of my career, people come to me and at where I come up with my own ideas, I come up with my own concepts. People don't very rarely tell me to, just make something look nice. So, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. So it's like, I think from that angle, there's usually, not always, usually some level of respect for me. And of course, I always try to respect the clients back.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where I think that's where the best relationships are, when there's sort of a mutual trust between the client and designer, and you both can learn from each other.
Yeah. And for like people that are, let's say in a leadership position, or like someone that has a team working under them and so forth, like what have been some of the things that you found to be useful for like building that culture of like respect and like trust?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like every corporate job I've been in, like the creative team that I've been on just gets fired eventually.
Yeah,
Uh, there's always respect at the beginning, but because, good design is not going to always make you money. I think, I think one of the points I do make, I'm pretty sure I make this point in the book, is that like designers should be, in terms of like corporate culture, which is maybe inherently a toxic culture, but
yeah,
in like any sort of company where it's not a design studio, like designers should be in higher up positions
yeah,
and also making the work, not just like, because it's like the way the system's set up now is like you've got a CEO and then you have a creative director and then an art director and then a designer and then a senior designer and then a designer and then the junior designer and then the intern, and like the intern's the only one like doing real design work,
yeah,
and or probably a few levels above as well. But I think that system's pretty broken. So I think like the people who do the actual designs should always like should present to clients, if they're comfortable doing that, because then they're able, then they get better at articulating the work and defending the work, and they're not just a meeting. I think it's really good to have people who are good at meetings and project managers and writers and things like that. But I do think like the designers should be there and should be able to talk about their work, because I think then putting a face to that, you
yeah,
start to see. But I mean, these are ideas that are well above my, you know,
yeah,
actually implementing these ideas is extremely above my pay grade. But
yeah.
yeah,
But I kind of I feel like it speaks to like that sense of like the politics of design and like everything about the teams and organizations and all that stuff, which I think naturally for someone that gets into design because they're into album covers or just like pop culture, then being thrown into these environments where you now have to like take all these other things into consideration, I think could be kind of debilitating sometimes.
yeah, and I think yeah, I mean it happens to all of us. Like I've worked corporate jobs,
Yeah.
I had some crazy internships, and I think I almost mentioned this earlier. Like one thing to say is like I still do corporate work.
Hmm.
Like I think you see a lot of these like cool small design studios and they post their greatest hits, and it's like I still need to make money.
Yeah.
Half my income last year was from a client that I haven't posted once. So I think that's just the truth. And I think yeah, so I think I mean I think it's important to have jobs,
Hmm.
especially when you're out of school, so you can learn from people who are smarter than you and better than you and build community. But there's always going to be shitty jobs. There's always, yeah, you're going to be, especially early on, you're going to have a shitty job. But I mean, I think everyone's got their own circumstances. Everyone has bills to pay. But like, if you do have the time and energy and space, like, do your own work, do work that you're passionate about, and then try and turn that into your job. If your job is like, don't let capitalism, don't let capitalism kill your spirit,
Yeah.
kill your heart,
Yeah.
because it's really, I always hate it when I see that. Like I'll see people who are like really insanely good out of school and then like 10 years later they're like, I hate everything about everything.
Yeah. It happens so much. I just had a really, really talented friend just quit design altogether and is now like pursuing a totally different career. And
And that's valid. That's
yeah,
totally valid too. Like if you don't want to do design, if you're bad at design, or if
yeah,
you don't like it, like
yeah,
I mean, if it doesn't make you happy, then don't do it.
yeah. And then you also spend some time in your book talking about design competitions or this just this space that that's like this play to win space where people will submit work and they'll pay money to get their work featured, and I think it creates like this culture of like I'd love to hear you speak a little bit more about competitions. I have very strong opinions
Yeah.
on competitions, but I'll let you
Yeah. I mean, I think like they were like historically a big deal in the 90s, like pre-internet or like pre the everyone being on the internet, just because it was one of the only ways to get your work out on a national scale. Like people, art directors would buy these design book, like these fancy design books from competitions. I do think like they're not all bad, like necessarily. Like I think being judged by a group of peers and you know having your work awarded, totally fine. And I think like if you need a visa, if you need a green card, you know, things like that, they're completely valid. And I think sometimes for students, they can be valid too, just to like get themselves out there. But I do think, yeah, like the internet, social media, the one design blog that still exists, have completely replaced the need for competitions for the most part in the way they exist now because they're super expensive for the most part. You know, smaller studios and designers, they can't really afford them. And I think just the way competitions are set up, it's often like the if everybody agrees on the work, then it's probably not that exciting. Like if it's not making people feel anything. So yeah, I'm not going to say sit here and say all competitions are bad and they don't have a valid place, but I do think there's a lot of design organizations that sort of exist solely to like get people to enter competitions for money.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Yeah, my thing about competitions is always like the judges. Like what makes someone like worthy of judging work and defining whether it's good or not. Because at the end it's all subjective and it's just a matter of taste.
Are you just mad that nobody's ever asked you
No.
to be a judge? Just kidding.
No,
No,
no.
I think yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, no one's no, I mean that's not that's I don't care about that stuff.
No, just kidding. No, I think yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there's like people who are experts. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, yeah, it's all subjective.
Yeah, yeah. So today, like, what about graphic design is like really keeping you excited? Like, what's and you also talk about AI and you talk about like some of the implications of AI. And that seems to be everything that everyone's talking about today. And like for me, I've been I in the beginning I was very anti-AI and I thought it was like there's just this creativity killer. But over the last few months, I've been playing more and more with it, and I've actually been finding that it's actually like a tool that requires some skill to use like skillfully.
Mhm.
So curious to hear your thoughts, like for everyone else to kind of hear your thoughts on artificial intelligence and just overall like through all your research and just this book and everything that you've been seeing, what are your overall sentiments around like technology and artificial intelligence and just like even more so for design like emerging designers that are like graduating into this field where it's kind of like nebulous right now.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of AI, yeah, I wrote a whole essay in the book about AI and sort of the history a little bit
Hmm.
and whether it's good or bad. And I do think, there is a time and place for AI. I'm not going to sit here and completely write it off as an image making tool, but I think, there's the obvious reasons why AI is bad, which is it's trained on copyrighted works. So artists aren't, getting money for it. It's bad for the environment. It's always going to look old because it's always trained on previously created works, right? And it's sort of just like a visual amalgamation of it. I sort of talk specifically about AI when it comes to images and stuff. Like, but I think the bigger issue is that I like doing design. Like I like making images. That's the fun part for me.
Hmm.
So I don't want that to be automated.
Yeah.
Like that's the part I don't like to be automated. So I think it's like a solution to a problem that doesn't exist when it comes to designers and artists. Like if I could get AI invoices, that'd be great. I don't know how well that would work, but yeah. So I think AI is just another tool, but isn't just another tool. It's like this huge shift, I think.
Hmm.
But I think if you are going to use it, you really kind of have to be very careful with what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, because like the first couple of times that I've used it, I found that everything that it was giving me was like just disappointing and it just looked awful. And And every now and then, like I'll have it make something that actually looks like what my mind's eye like wanted it to look like. And I don't know. I've been. Do you encourage your students to experiment with it, or what's your?
Yeah, I don't tell them, push them either way. Like, yeah, I mean, in the current class I'm teaching, like I could be teaching them like prompting, you know, because it's
Mhm.
like a digital tools class basically, but like, just type stuff. Yeah, so my opinion on it is like you can use it if you want. It often doesn't save you any time because of,
Mhm.
you know, how much you have to try basically, but you can use it if you want, just like be completely honest about it and be transparent. And if you are going to use AI, like I'm going to expect you to like be doing something with it, not just like
Mhm.
typing something in and handing it, popping out an image and handing it in. Like, because I still use AI from time to time. I used to be like I have a PC set up where I can pump out like a couple hundred images like every 10 minutes because it runs locally. So it's like for a while I was like really kind of like I was looking at like thousands and thousands of images a day of just like all this AI slop I generated. Like, so I got a little burnt out on it. So I don't really, and it's funny because I started like I was like I gotta go back. I started drawing more after that because it's like this
Yeah.
is I went too deep down the hardware in the hardware. Um, but yeah, I mean it's like I think it's good for jokes. Like that's the one thing it's good at. Like I just got on Sora and it was like a really funny few hours of me AI generating, you know, joke videos of me and other people, like my friends. But after that, it's just like
Yeah.
I'm like, what? We're gonna, you know, crash the economy and like melt the desert for this. Like, I guess I don't know. It's a little depressing.
Yeah. I have noticed that sometimes when I wanted to do something, it's quicker if I just do it myself. As
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone kind of comes to that conclusion where it's.
yeah.
I mean, I think I would say like maybe one third of the time when I'm like, oh shit, I need to like I just gonna use AI for this really quick, just because it's like a sketch or something. It's like should just fucking Photoshop this. This is so stupid.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like Photoshop's AI is awful. It's like terrible.
yeah, yeah. It's really bad.
Firefly. Yeah.
It
Um,
works. I mean, I'd like the extend background feature.
that's about it.
Yeah, but it always like puts like a random hand or like a human, and you're like what? It's like weird.
Yeah. For the longest time, I really wanted to run a campaign because the club does, we sell some merch, like t-shirts, and I really wanted the models to be AI, but like AI slop models. And even that was like, it wasn't doing right.
Yeah, I wanted to like because my studio is just me basically. Like I was gonna AI generate like 30 employees.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that. You should still do that.
yeah. I didn't. Maybe I'll go through with it.
Yeah. Now that this book is out, I'm curious to hear about like I know people are just now receiving their copies, but what have been some of the responses that you've been getting? And is there, in retrospect, is there anything that you would have done differently, or just overall, how are you feeling about this like pretty big milestone? Like, do you feel like more books are gonna be you're gonna be writing more, publishing more?
Yeah, I mean, I think the response has been really good.
Mhm.
Like you said, it just came out basically, but like I think I was talking to you about this earlier. Like people are actually reading it, which is nice. And yeah, the two people that DM me about reading it has been nice. But it literally just like this week arrives in people's doorsteps. So yeah, but I mean, I think like in terms of like doing stuff like this, it's the response has been amazing. And yeah, I mean, I think like when you do these things, it's like you can't I'm not going to get on like the bestseller. It's like who cares if it sells well or not? Like the fact that you did it is good enough. Yeah, and in terms of writing more, uh, I'm a little burnt out right after this, so it might be a while before I write anything else. And but yeah. I mean, I feel like this book feels like a pretty definitive statement. And I guess you also asked, how do I feel about it? I mean, I think it's also one of those things where, like I could keep tinkering on it for the next however, but it's done. The version that exists is the version that I was happy with when it was printed. And I think like a lot of it, some of it does is like intentionally like contemporary, like I think, you know, maybe like the AI and Adobe essay aren't going to age well, which is like totally fine. It's meant to be like a snapshot in time. So yeah, it's just purely because of the way technology moves. So I think I'm happy with it. Like I don't really have a choice.
Yeah. So I'm curious if anyone that is here has any questions or any comments for Eric or myself. Um,
I in the comments I put, have you tried out that Nano Banana AI?
Yeah, so that's like Google, right?
There's one in
Or
Google and there's one that it's the beta version of Photoshop has it in it as well.
yeah, Eric Hu, if you know that designer, Eric Hu, he sent me a bunch of funny stuff. He sent me like he posted some of these, like he put dreadlock, like white guy dreadlocks on me, and he put white guy dreadlocks on a bunch of people, and it was very funny. And it was really crazy. It was like you can turn people around. And I mean, I think the thing is with AI is that like it's gonna get more realistic, right? It's just that's just where it's headed. It's just gonna get more and more real. The truth is gonna erode. Like I'm already like with Sora, I'm like scrolling TikTok now and I'm already just thinking everything's AI, even though it's not,
yeah.
just because of the amount of AI. So I think, yeah, it's that effect is going to be really crazy. But the like AI aesthetics that are more exciting to me are like the crappy, weird, blurry face, weird finger stuff. Where like if it's like, oh, that looks like a photo, it's like just take a photo.
Yeah.
But obviously you can't take photos of everything. But yeah,
I've been liking, I saw the other day like an evolution of Will Smith eating spaghetti, like AI, and like in the beginning it was like this very scary face, and now
yeah,
it looks just like him.
yeah, that video is great. Yeah, that's actually a very good breakdown of how fast it's moved. Because
Yeah.
it's like, in a year from now, it's going to be like, I don't know. We're going to get like really, I mean, this already exists, but like you're going to get like really bad AI movies. And
Mhm.
yeah.
But I have been finding that people seem to be pretty, um, and this gives me hope, but I'm also like just generally an optimistic person about this kind of stuff. But I've been seeing more and more people skeptical and openly calling out AI when they see it. Whereas I feel like the alternative would be for everyone to just like embrace, like for example, like not too long ago, a friend of mine had a AI exhibition in Toronto, and within 12 hours, like the customers were so upset, and they were like, and this guy was forced to take down the show because they just couldn't
Yeah.
handle it. So like a part of me feels like one, it's cool that people are getting pissed off and like pushing back against it, but also a part of me feels like people are not willing to like have a conversation and just look at it in the face for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of agree with you on both points where, yeah, people are becoming more and more AI literate, I think, in terms of spotting it, which is going to only become more difficult, I think, as the technology improves. And so I do think it is good when you see people pushing back on it, uh, especially in like artistic spaces. But yeah, the other side of the coin is you see people like really intensely reacting to it. And, you know, I, I think it's much more complicated than that. Like, I think you can use AI and visual things in interesting ways without just being like, fuck AI. Um, And yeah, it's funny. It's 'cause, like I'm seeing a lot of like people calling out AI when it's like not an AI image.
Yeah,
Like it's been upscaled with AI, but that's like it's like, it's like upscaling in Photoshop basically. So,
yeah,
there's like things like that where people like freak out and they're like, fuck AI. And it's like it's not a black and white issue, I think. Even though I like am mostly against it, I do think it's not completely black and white. I
yeah,
think just like rejecting a tool outright is not a good way of defeating it. You have to
yeah,
learn it in
yeah.
order to defeat it.
I read somewhere about it was a parent made a post about how she's been noticing that her children and like her children's friends have been when they see something that they don't like, they'll say that's AI, and like that's their version of like that's stupid or like that's lame, and uh,
Yeah,
and I thought that was kind of cool too. That like that's AI is now an insult. Like if you want to insult someone, you can just say call
that's
them.
really funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, kids are always going to be more advanced than us.
yeah, yeah. I agree. So anyone else here? I feel like everyone's being pretty quiet. You could put a question here in the chat as well if you're.
Um, I have a question actually.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm currently a student, just about finished here. And I was curious specifically, Eric, because I feel like through the years that I have been practicing, there's kind of been an increase on what's expected for a designer to know and do. I think when I started out, I was really excited about just typography and laying out books and stuff. And now it's like, oh, I have to learn how to use Figma and I have to know UX design. And so I wanted to know what your thoughts were on that specific.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question, and I mean, it's almost, I don't know if it's increased necessarily, but I mean, I think especially with technology and computer, I guess it definitely has. But yeah, I mean, I think you're always gonna be pushed to do more, to like take on more responsibilities, to like learn more programs. And I think, yeah, it's really important to just do what you care about doing. Like if you want to be a typography person, even though the job market isn't great for that, like I mean, I don't know what the typography job market is, but uh do what you love. No, but like seriously, like do what you care about because the work will be better and people will see that. And I think in terms of the tools, like I mean, I'm being slightly hypocritical here because I do push my students to learn new technology, be excited about it, uh, and then use it, or like use it if you want to, and if you don't want to, don't use it. Um, yeah, like because like Figma is going to be obsolete one day in 30 years. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. I don't know. I think certain softwares now that we're using are probably going to be obsolete relatively soon. But yeah, just I'm a generalist, so I like doing lots of things, but
Mm,
I also still tell people like if you want to be a specialist, like be a specialist because that's I respect type designers, for example, for that reason
mm,
because they're just really good at drawing type, and that's doing the same thing over and over in a sense. But yeah,
mm, thank you.
Any other comments from anyone else?
I have a question. Are there, I mean, you're in New York, so, I'm sure there's some amazing talent there. Are there any, studios or designers we should look out for that you're aware of?
I actually moved to California. I need to update my website
Oh,
bio.
okay.
Um, yeah, yeah, I'll shout out. Yeah, I'm in San Diego, so I'll shout out my studio mates, Mortis Studio. Uh, they're great. Mortis Studio out in San Diego. I'll show some love to the San Diego design scene, the very large and fruitful San Diego design scene. I'm being ironic, but yeah,
What what what
Mortis.
what do you find? What do you see today in like the industry that's like the sweet spot or like the thing that really gets you excited about design? Like what is it about this studio in particular that that you find interesting about?
I mean, a few things. I mean, I like more just because they're my friends, but they also do a lot of stuff by hand. Uh, they like draw a lot, which I like. But I think like, I mean, when I was like younger, when I was a student, when I was in my 20s, I was like really like sucking up all the design I could see. Um, and I was really inspired by design, which I think can be bad if you're like only inspired by that. Like I think I tell people to, be inspired by things outside of design a lot. But nowadays it's like I am not up to date on the design scene. I know I just wrote a book about it basically, but I talk a bit about the book like about like video games. Like I think the most exciting forward thinking design is a lot of it takes place in video games because the use case is play and entertainment. So I think you get a lot of really expressive work in video games. Um, I mean, I could rattle off like a bunch of good graphic designers and studios, but it's like
Yeah.
they're my friends, or it's like I know there's cool shit out there. Like there's always going to be some like 20-year-old in like Poland doing like the craziest fonts you've ever seen, or, there's some Ed fella going back to school, or there's like April Grimes, like there's always going to be like some crazy shit I've never seen before. Those are some very old references, but yeah, I think I don't know,
Yeah.
anyone who's designing harder.
Yeah. Anyone who's designing.
Well, like I was going to say too, maybe it's more interesting to draw inspiration from other areas anyway, whether it's product or fine art or something like that, and instead of being so literally be inspired by design specifically.
Yeah, I mean there are times where I'm like, whoa, this is like some typography I've never seen. Like this is some actually crazy design shit. But I do think, yeah, most of the work I really love is like, oh, they're like really good at drawing. So they're like, there's like life drawings in there or whatever, it's like, oh, they're really good at 3D, or like, oh, they're like really interested in K-pop. So it's like all, non-design things. So it's like, yeah, basically what you said.
Yeah. And one of the things that you mentioned in your book is about you're encouraging people to look outside of like it's like point five, where you say graphic design did not start in Switzerland, the Bauhaus, or Europe alone. The lack of documentation and acknowledgement of non-Western graphic design in the Western world should be reversed. And I feel like that's the thing about like social media, is that it gives you exposure to like, well, I mean, it all kind of depends on your algorithm, but I do find that sometimes like the most exciting work is happening um, not in America. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think because I mean I think when I was in school, the design history textbook had like one chapter for like Asia and Latin America, and like nothing about African design. So it's like I think, yeah, shit like that is crazy to me. So I think, yeah, I mean, like I think as the world becomes more cosmopolitan, you are seeing that, and especially with like social media and things like that. Um, but yeah, I think it's always important to, one, from like a history perspective, to like
Yeah,
understand that graphic design existed before the Industrial Revolution, like, logos meaning things like that. But also like graphic design as we know it today, did not come from those specific places. That's only, there was obviously good shit. Like the Bauhaus is great. I'm not anti Bauhaus, but there's equally good stuff happening in other parts of the world. And I think once you like learn that stuff, once you go outside of your influence, your work will tends to get better.
yeah, yeah. I blame a lot of like the standardization of like design in America, um, partially due to like design systems and like just the Googles of the world, and like just this idea of like toolkits and pattern libraries that kind of just aim to, I mean, obviously there's a purpose behind them, but I do find that like it's rare that you see an app that actually looks really, really awesome.
Yeah, and I talk about that sort of specifically in the graphic design utopia essay, where like I think there's like when you talk about there's like a range of design types of designers. Like one end of the spectrum is like systems designers, where you're making things more legible, you're making things for everybody. And I think there is absolutely a time and place for that, right? Where it's like a voting form, or like
Mm-hmm.
a healthcare app or something like that, where it's
Yeah.
like, I think those systems toolkits like make sense. But then like the other side of the spectrum is like someone like me, where it's like graphic designers in the way. You
Mm-hmm.
see, I try to show my influences, my point of view in the work. The work is super personal, or somewhat personal, but it's like, feels appropriate for whatever it is. And I think, if those two sides speak to each other, I think it's good, right? Where it's like, yeah, I would love to see an app with like you don't see a lot of crazy UX anymore,
Mm-hmm.
like you did when like Flash ruled the web,
Yeah.
for example. But yeah, it's like, so you don't see a lot of like crazy ass UX. Like in video games, you do. Like that's, I think, one example where like you see the craziest fucking UX. Like I talk about Persona 5 video game UX is like that shit. So I think, but it's like I wouldn't use that for a healthcare app.
Of course. Yeah.
So I think, you know, yeah, you kind of need both.
Yeah. That's what I miss about like the early internet days. Like for example, I don't know if ever anyone here has gone through like the web design museum online, but it's like a collection of websites at different points in time, and like the one that we all probably remember is the Space Jam website, where like the navigation was like around like a planet, I believe. And yeah, like we don't really see stuff like that anymore, which is unfortunate. And to me, like that is like a a definition of like a version of designing harder, is like plain, it's like seeing the web as a canvas as opposed to just like a stack of modules and bands.
Yeah, I think yeah, the Space Jam website is designed harder. Yeah, I mean that's the so that era of the internet is like when I first started using the internet, like I'm of that age. So yeah, that was all really inspiring to me. And like the internet felt a lot smaller, and it felt like, oh, like this, it was always going to be like, it was always going to look cool, and people were like, everyone's going to have their own personal website, and it was going to look really cool. uh Even like MySpace was like super customizable, you get your own song.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all flattened out and got boring, uh which is really unfortunate. And I think there's definitely people out there who are like pushing against that, but uh yeah, it was a different time. For sure. That's like one thing that I miss a lot.
Yeah. So we're over time, but if anyone has any other questions or comments, if not, I just want to say thank you, Eric, for writing the book, and I hope everyone here gets a chance to get a copy and like read through it. And for the book, I believe you mentioned that you prefer if people purchase it through the publisher itself, right?
Yeah, here, I'll drop the link.
Okay, if you could put it in the chat here.
Mostly so my publisher can make their money back.
Yep.
No, but yeah, I think the book, uh I only scratched the surface of what's in the actual book, and I think it looks nice, but you don't have to buy it. Um, and yeah, specifically to David Pearson, who's in the UK, we're working on European distribution because it's really expensive. But if you're in America, you should buy it.
Yep.
If you want. If you don't, I'm not going to take it personally.
Amazing. Well, thank you again so much. And is there anything else that we should be on the lookout for coming from you?
Yeah, this is like the main thing. I'm putting out a new website once I get my shit together, like everybody else. But yeah, just the book is, I'm doing events. If you're in New York, uh, there's an event next week, which is beyond sold out allegedly. Uh, but yeah, go to that if you can, if you got a ticket. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm probably gonna do more stuff too. And yeah, if you're in Europe, look out for distro. Follow me on the internet. Get my numbers up. Let's get those numbers going. I don't know. I'm running out of things, jokes to make. Yeah.
Let's get your follower count up.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I'm happy.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Eric, and we will let's stay in touch. And I hope that you could come to Chicago sometime.
Yeah, I love Chicago. I've only been there when it's cold, so I want to go there when it's not cold.
Okay.
Eat
Come.
eat a Chicago dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, Chicago is at the point where it's getting dark and it's getting cold. So definitely don't come now. Probably come next year, like beginning in sometime in April. So
Deal.
cool.
Deal. All right.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
so much, Christian. I appreciate it.
Peace out. Bye, everyone.